So far we looked at the basics of ambisonics and the IEM plugin suite and how to set up Reaper to get started for immersive audio production. So let's actually look into production. I will tackle this topic by introducing the basic questions that you probably have when working with the plugin suite. The first topic we want to look into is positioning. Positioning your sound source around you. The most basic tool at our hands to pan a sound source around you is the SoundSphere panner. It is available in the stereo encoder and multi-encoder. We will talk about the parameters and how to use it, and also we will talk about converting automation into different ways of displaying position around you. So let's get started. I got my stereo encoder set up from the last session. Here you can see the sphere panner. In the upper left hand corner, the little symbol here says that it's expecting 1 or 2 audio channels, and it's outputting ambisonics in SN3D normalization and 5th order. This white knob here represents my sound source. I can move it around using the 4 controls here. All of these parameters work in the unit of degrees. The azimuth controls the horizontal movement on the plane. So we can control from the left to the right, the back and the front. Elevation is the vertical control of the sound source. We can move it above, behind and even below us. By controlling the width parameter, we can control how much the 2 sound sources lie apart from each other. By spreading the 2 sound sources, we can roll them around as well. We can also control the azimuth via the mouse wheel while pressing down the command button. If we want to control the elevation, we can do so by using the mouse wheel again, but pressing down Alt. To spread the 2 sound sources away from each other, thus controlling the width, we can use the mouse wheel and Shift. Controlling the roll parameter is possible by clicking Option and Command and using the mouse wheel. But there are even more shortcuts to controlling the position of the sound source. Press Shift and F to put it to the front, Shift and L to the left, Shift and R goes with right, and Shift and B goes with back. If you press down Shift and D, you can go to the bottom, and Shift and T brings you to the top. Perhaps you also noticed the quaternion section here as well. These are different controls for these parameters. You could use them as well, but I find it to be more handy to control azimuth, elevation control and width. These quaternions are mainly used for head trackers, as they are working with these type of data. Another possibility to control the position of our sound sources is the MultiEncoder. Here we can pick a number of channels that are going into the plugin, and the number is determined by the tracked channel amount. We can control all of these sources independently. And if we press Visualize, they will elicit a small visualization whether a sound source is active on that input. An interesting way to deal with all these sound sources simultaneously is pressing the Lock Directions button. Now we can control all sources at the same time. We even can control the gain and set a solo and mute button for each individual source. The most advanced tool at our hands is the RoomEncoder. This plugin is able to not only position the sound source around you, but also you, the listener, within a room. So you can move yourself, this is the green dot, and the orange dot, the sound source. This RoomEncoder also calculates early reflections of a room, which give a really realistic room impression. So with this plugin, you're not only panning your sound source on the virtual sphere, but rather in a real room. That's why it's using a different approach to determine position. You don't have control to azimuth, width, elevation and roll in this plugin, but X, Y and Z. X for depth, Y for width and Z for height. So if you want to determine the position, you can just adjust these parameters to taste. But if you want to position, say, your sound source at a set radius to move around the listener, it's really complicated to control these parameters in your automation. What we now need is a coordinate converter. With this plugin, it is possible to pan your source around and get the representing X, Y, and Z coordinates for that. We then can map these coordinates to control the RoomEncoder coordinates.